at one stock. A lot of what I would share today would overlap, so I would skip a lot of it to account for the time lost as well. But this is going to be interesting, and let's get into it. So we all know that, oh, my slides is not syncing. Okay. Internet, I need to connect to the Wi-Fi. There we go. Yes, perfect. Okay, as I was saying, for the longest time, we've relied on passwords as the default way to authenticate on the web, right? When you go to any website, you're asked to enter your email address, enter a password to sign in, right? But with passwords, you have very similar different things happening where there's a rise of cybercrime, data breaches, and also bad actors. Like you find that a lot of passwords are getting breached simply because of what? They are not secure, or they are actually not following the guidelines for what a good password should be like. So with that, I would like to run this very quick survey. Please indulge me as I ask you this question. If you can relate to any of them, can I see hands? Just like Nick there. So the first question I would like to ask the audience today is, if you've ever, this could be like a few years ago, 2 years ago, last year, 2 minutes ago, stored your password in a notepad. If you've ever done that, hands. Okay, a few of us, me included. Next question. Have you ever used the same password for most of your accounts? Okay, few people, or most people. Have you ever used your name or date of birth as your password or PIN for your ATM? A lot of us have, right? Okay. Now, the thing is, people do that because sometimes it's easy to remember. You just want to get logged into the platform very quickly. And this survey from Tom's Guide shows the worst password ranked from 2022. This should be updated, but you can see the examples there. People use Qwerty because what? They can just type Qwerty, super fast. People use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as your password. And yeah, the truth about it is these are not secure passwords. Anyone trying to hack into your websites, accounts, bank accounts can easily guess this and just get access to your private information. But I find that a lot of people are doing this. They don't know about the security implications of creating secure password, right? And our job as developers is to make sure that that happens. Another interesting report I would like to share is from the Verizon data breach report. It shows that 84% of the data breach that happened that year was due to weak passwords, right, or stolen passwords, right? Now, where do we come in as developers? How can we actually make this a bit better? We need to be making sure that we follow the guidelines and also enforce it in the sign-up login forms that we're implementing in the platform by making sure, for example, we ask people to use a combination of uppercase, lowercase letter when they're creating an account. You can enforce this by adding validation, so someone cannot actually use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as a password if you have the right validations in place. Another guideline to follow is to make sure that you avoid using easily guessable password like your name, date of birth, things that information anyone can find online about you. Don't ever use that as your password. Make sure that you're using different password for every account. Now, this is interesting because if I say you should follow these guidelines and also make a unique password for every platform that you have to sign into, that's a lot of work. And that's why we have password managers for that. Finally, make sure that your passwords are at least 12 characters long. How many of you here know this website? Have I been pawned? How many of you here have tried to see if you've ever been pawned? Okay, that's a good number. Okay, so Have I Been Pawned is basically a website that allows you to check if any of your email address password has been in any data breach. Now, I was just doing a sample demo with one of the most popular password that I used from like 2010, 2015. That was my name, middle name. And I saw that it has been in a few data breaches, right? I don't use that password anymore. So yeah, if you'd like to try it out, just go to that website and just check. And if your data has been breached, make sure you update your password or email address or whatever that is that you're using. Speaking about creating unique passwords, there are different password managers to allow you follow the guidelines that I shared initially, right? There's LastPass, there's OneKeeper. I'm pretty sure most of us here use password managers, right? It is great, but is that the best and secure way to store your data? Do you think so? Well, I don't think so, because even with LastPass, with 1Password, your data can still get breached. This was from December 2022. If you're a LastPass user, you probably got an email from them saying that there was like a massive data breach that occurred at the time. So relying on password managers as the best and secure way for your password is not actually the best solution. And the essential aim of my talk is to share with you some alternatives that you can use with password and also over passwords, right? This tweet from Angie Jones, she's someone that I love a lot. She shared a very interesting example of what could actually be a replacement, but not a good replacement of password. I don't know what exact platform that was, but I have a very interesting example of this and how it has happened to me. How many of you here know Trust Wallet? Trust Wallet? No, nobody here does Bitcoin or whatever. Okay. Trust Wallet, when you sign up, would ask you to save a passphrase, right, as your security key to log into the platform. Now, that's another option over an alternative over password. Now, the problem with that is when you save when you're given a passphrase to store and you misplace the passphrase, you can't actually have access to your wallet anymore. So that happened to me, and I lost $500. Up until now, I don't know my passphrase. And yeah, what I did was I stored the passphrase on a notepad, and I lost it. But yeah, I don't think this is a good alternative for over passwords, right? So what then is some alternatives that you can actually use, right? I think it's time to move away from password. I mean, we're getting there. There is different alternatives that I will share in my talk that allows you to better, put security at the forefront for your platform. And I think authentication also plays a very key role in businesses as well as having a digital experience that is very seamless. So the 3 different approaches that I will share with you today, and I'll breeze through them, is first one being passwordless authentication. I'm sure most of you probably already know what this is or have heard about it. Then the other one I will share is multi-factor authentication, and then finally share single sign-on authentication. Now, these 3 different alternatives can be used in replacement of password or alongside with password to ensure a secure, access for both your users and even yourself, right? So the first one I'll touch on is passwordless authentication. Now, what this essentially means is that you don't have to use passwords anymore, right? There's different implementation of this right now. There are different implementations of this like magic links, OTP, one-time passkeys or passcodes, SMS notification. If you've signed into any platform of recent, you probably find that most of them no longer ask you for passwords. What they do is they just ask you for your email address, and then you get a magic link, or they ask you for your phone number, and then you get a OTP. And with that, they're taking away the password burden, right? You don't need to think of a new password. You don't need to store a new password on LastPass, and so on. So I quickly share a demo of how you can set up passwordless seamlessly using a platform called Auth0. So this is a Next.js application that is that playing? Okay, yeah. This is a Next.js application that I made. And basically, I am using the Next.js Auth0 library to kind of set up authentication with Auth0. So Auth0 is a platform for user authentication. It offers you your typical, username, password setup. It also offers you passwordless, where you can do things like OTP, one-time password, or magic links. So yeah, in this demo, what I did is I'm using the Next.js client library to set up my auth to get me logged in. And the first setup that I have here is your typical flow where you have like a username and a password. They call it the universal login, right? So when you have this set up and implemented in your application, your users are asked for a username and a password. Now, this is the default, but I want to remove this and replace it with alternatives that they offer. And one of the alternatives is the passwordless auth with Auth0. How this works is on the dashboard, you have an option to either set up with SMS or with email. In this example, I'm turning both of them on just to show you what they look like. And then after that, you pick the specific app, because within the platform, you set up an app. And then with that, you can set up any type of authentication you want within your application. So my app there is called the gift code. And then after selecting that, I can also set up a custom login screen if I want to customize what my login screen looks like. And then the final result is this app that I have where instead of being asked for a username and password, I'm asked for just my email address, and then I get a magic link. Because I turned both of them on, I have the option of also putting in a phone number, and then I get a 6-digit code that I can use to log in. So that's one way of taking away the password part and replacing it with an alternative. The next one is multi-factor authentication. Now, multi-factor means three things. It's something that you know, which could be your password, passkeys, passphrase, or a PIN. It's something that you have. It could be your soft or hard token. I saw some people here want the YubiKey, so that's an example. It could also be something that you are, so your face ID with the iPhones or your fingerprints. So those are the three components of multi-factor authentication. Now, you possibly find that a lot of people or platform uses this in addition to passwords, where when you're asked to sign in, you put in your username and your password, but there's also another factor. So there is the other factor could be that you log in with a hard token or a soft token, or you log in with an authenticator app like Google Authenticator app or LastPass Authenticator app. Now, this is an added security on top of what you typically know, which is the default, just so to ensure that your account isn't easily breached by someone that is a bad actor, right? So implementation, how do you implement multi-factor into your app with Auth0? They also offer you different options you can pick from the dashboard. Here, I have selected the Authenticator app with Auth0, and I'm using that as my option. And then in this screen, I have two different ways you can do it. You can either do multi-factor authentication with SMS or voice. So the flow for this would be you're asked to log in, and then you pick which specific one, because the two options are offered. I prefer to have multiple options in case one is not convenient for me. And okay, thank you for that. Yeah. So this is an option you can also use for multi-factor, right? You can do different SMS, voice, and so on. The last one I would like to highlight, I'll skip over some, is passkeys, right? Passkeys has recently been taking, a lot of, I've seen a lot of platforms that adopt it this year. For example, Google this year actually made passkeys as an option for you to sign into. So instead of using your Google password, you can sign in with just your fingerprint or your Face ID. Now, passkeys, the difference between that and the MFA that I mentioned is you skip all the extra multi-factor parts, so you only just need to sign in with your fingerprint or Face ID. This is a quick demo of how passkeys works in Auth0 when you have it set up. It's essentially, I'm still setting the option of having you to sign in with the other method, but I'm giving you option if you'd like to use passkeys on top of that. So what happens is I'm asked to use, so idea of passkeys is you have cryptographic keys, a private and a public one. One is stored in the device and one is stored on the platform you're trying to sign into. And that with that, every time you try to log in, you're not asked for any password or anything. You're just asked to use your fingerprint or your Face ID. a lot of platforms use this today, Google, GitHub, Amazon. I mentioned Google just made this public for all their users, right? The final one is single sign-on authentication. This is also an alternative for you to use with passwords. I would skip over it just because I'm over time, but I would like to, I would like to just share how you can go about adopting all the alternatives that I shared. Now, if you're a developer and probably at work, you think, oh, this is nice, I would like to, I would like for us to try to use one of these modern alternatives. How do you go about it? I think the first thing is to conduct a security assessment and see what the current situation is at work, the platform that you're building for, for example, if you decide to go with passkeys, is it supported on all browsers? Is that the option you would like to use? Make sure that you're choosing the right authentication method. And if you decide that, yeah, you stick with passwords, make sure that you have very, very strong password policies set so that your users don't enter easily breachable passwords. Continue to educate users, educate the developers on the team, educate people like what I'm doing right here. So not just developers, but everybody. This affects everybody, your mom, your dad. They need to have secure passwords, so continue to educate people about this subject. And then finally, I want to leave you with this question. It's rhetoric, you can answer it fine. What do you think? Do you think passwords are going away completely? In the near future, not like tomorrow, but do you think passwords are going away completely? Yeah, so with that, thank you so much. Yeah, if you'd like to get access to the slides for the things that I skipped, please scan that QR code. Yeah.